Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tiffany if you're new here. A little bit about me, because this is not one of my regular travel videos. I am an expat living in Greece. I originally came to Greece in August and I was going to live on an island called Naxos. Unfortunately, I couldn't find an apartment there. It was really a long and complicated process. I also need to sort out a residence permit, which in part of that requires me to have an apartment. And I will link a card above that will explain a little bit more about like why I've moved here, so that way you kind of get a better picture of that. So I ended up deciding that I would settle in Athens, which, as many of you know, is the capital of Greece and is on the mainland. So I went about my way. I traveled for a few months. There are lots of vlogs on my travels that I did while I was away from Greece, but now I'm back so I can sort out my residence permit. But the number one thing about living here is that you have to have a place to live. It's part of the requirement for the residence permit. They don't want you to just come and not actually live here. Apartment hunting in Athens was much easier than it was on Naxos. There's a lot more obviously available in Athens. There are also real estate agents here who have a large amount of listings that they can refer you to. So I started chatting with a few people online to look at a few places. I looked at one. It was not really in my preferred neighborhood. It was a little bit, it was in the center, but it was far away from like public transportation, which isn't a huge deal, except that I don't have a car and I don't know anyone here. So I really didn't want to live too far away from public transportation. And the weird thing was the kitchen was in the bedroom. Not like, oh, they put a bed in the kitchen. This was like, they built a bedroom and put the kitchen in it. Like oven, stove, sink, everything. And then the refrigerator that should have been with the kitchen was in the living room. And they were gonna put a washing machine in there too. So it was just a strange setup. It was a brand new apartment though. Like it's in and of itself, like the furnishings were nice. And if for some reason like nothing better had come along, it would have been fine. The other nice thing is it had a balcony, and if I scooted all the way to the left, I could see the Acropolis. But the other downfall was it was on like the 4th floor and there was no elevator. So, and I have asthma, so that's not always like the best idea for me. And I was like, oh gosh, if this is like how it's gonna be, like, I was really worried like that I was gonna spend like a month looking for an apartment. So I actually had signed up for an Airbnb for 2 weeks, but I emailed like, I don't know, it felt like I contacted like 50 people on the sites that you can use here to try to find an apartment, and not very few people got back to me. It's sort of like when you apply for a job online and you hit your resume and submit, and then it's like, you're like, did it go? Where did it go? That's what it felt like. But luckily, one of the places I looked at online was available through a real estate agent. So I sent my little email saying that I was interested in the apartment, and she called me back, gosh, I think the next day, I can't remember now. And she was actually had arranged to show it to someone else that evening at 7 o'clock, and could I also come then? And I was like, absolutely, I'll be there. And online, it looked amazing. Like I thought, oh, this apartment's beautiful. It was a little more than I thought I wanted to spend, but I thought, okay, to have a nice apartment in a neighborhood that was the other thing. It's in the neighborhood I wanted to live in. So I met her. The other person wasn't here while I was looking at the apartment, which was kind of nice. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, it's really nice. And the lady who owns it is a woman, and the person who like managed it is a woman. So, and most importantly, everybody spoke English because my Greek is really small still. So I kind of hemmed and hawed and called my mother. Like we all do, kind of, when we have big life decisions to make, we call someone. So I called my mom. I started walking back towards the main square here in Athens so I could get on the bus so I could go back to my Airbnb. And before I even made it that far, I called the lady back and told her I would take it. Because I know that in most real estate markets, when it's not a cookie cutter apartment like we have more in the United States, that you need to, if you find something you like, you need to jump on it. And my hesitations were that it was in the basement, I didn't like the furniture, there was no oven, and there was no washing machine. but all of those things are pretty fixable, right? Well, except for the basement part. So I decided to just go for it because it was in the neighborhood I wanted to be in. It was newly renovated and the bed was comfortable. So called the lady back. She said, great. Can you come to my office tomorrow and sign the contract? I mean, there was no like messing about. This was like 7 o'clock, you know, it was like 7, 8 o'clock the night before. And I said, yes, I'll be there. So the next afternoon I went out, I paid my deposit, paid the broker, and paid the rent. And someone had just moved out, so they needed to clean. But I had the apartment like in like 2 or 3 days. It was probably the fastest process I've had outside of like almost like just walking into an apartment complex in the United States and just finding an apartment. So I'm going to take you on a tour of the apartment, but I just kind of wanted to tell you what my experience has been. I will say that it is not everyone's experience. I have a friend who used to live here and she said it took her a month to find an apartment. And maybe I'm not being as picky as some people would be, but I've lived in so many places that I just don't like. Maybe my standards are lower. I don't know, but anyway. But I know that some people really want to know like how much my rent is, and I don't know, what else do you want to know? I'll answer them in the comments. I'm really not sure. So I will say that I'm paying 500 euros a month. Now, for Athens, that is a little bit high for a 1-bedroom. However, I think the apartment is justified in that it's in a really nice neighborhood in Athens, and I can literally walk to Syntagma Square in about 10 minutes. I can also get on the metro, which is about a 3-minute walk down the hill from where I'm at. And also the apartment is newly renovated and it is done in a very nice way. And all the furniture is high-end. I mean, there's obviously a few IKEA pieces, like the chair I'm sitting in, but like the bed is from a really fancy bed store here in Greece. The sofa weighs about 5,000 pounds, so I'm sure it cost a small fortune, and I'm not really sure how they got it into this apartment, but... And the other thing is that there's literally a grocery store that way, 2 doors down. Across the street is a pharmacy, and down on the next block is another grocery store. So I don't have to walk very far for almost everything, you know, groceries, pharmacy, public transportation. And actually on the next street down, there is a row of restaurants, and in the summer, there's an open air movie theater. So I feel really fortunate, and I feel like the asking price is okay. The other apartment I was telling you about, the one that had the kitchen in the living room, in the bedroom, was also 500 euros. It did include a little bit more in terms of like, I think it included the Wi-Fi, and it included, I think, the water. I can't remember now. And of course there was a washing machine and an oven. So, you know, yes, I'm paying a little bit more. And I could definitely get something for cheaper if I wanted to be a little bit further out of the city, or if I wanted to have roommates, but I'm too old for that. So we'll see how this goes. You know, I'm here for at least the year, and you know, maybe in a year I won't love it so much, but I love it right now, or maybe I'll love it even more. Anyway, or let me show you around now. And if you have any questions, you can leave me a comment. Oh, and if you really like this, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna start the tour from the entryway. What's really nice about this apartment is it has some storage here in the front, right when you walk in, and it matches, everything matches. I love this apartment for that reason. The door matches the cabinets and it matches the floors. Ignore the towel on the floor. The towel on the floor is because it's a basement apartment, so it's a little bit colder in here, and there's about an inch gap between the door and the floor, so I'm trying to keep the cold air from coming in from the outside. So it's just my, you know, my hack here. All right, so then you walk directly into like probably what, an eating area. I haven't quite figured out what this was supposed to be. I think that some people must have had the TV here, but I've moved the TV over to the cabinet. I'll show you that in a second. So I'm gonna hang that eventually when I get something to hang it with. My dining table, which I'm using as an office sometimes. And then living area. And I'm gonna say this, everything in this apartment was furnished. The couch, the sofa, the bed, some of the bedding and the pots and pans. So not all of this is to my taste. So eventually that couch is going to get covered, and I'm going to get a rug because the floor is quite cold in here. Because in this area it's just the marble. And then as you can see, the wood floor goes into the kitchen and the bedroom. So what I really like is this unit here. There's cabinet storage underneath and lots of bookshelf space, which I'm a big reader, so that eventually will be full. And yeah, a lot of people wouldn't really care for having a basement apartment, but it really hasn't bothered me. This window gets lots of light. This one does. I don't open it as much because the window is kind of like warped a little bit and I'm afraid I'm going to break it, so I don't open it as often. Maybe when the summer comes and it's not as humid, it'll open better. It had some interesting pieces of art that I took down that I will have to replace eventually. There wasn't a lot on the walls, as you can see, so I'm gonna have to slowly get things to put up because it's kind of white in here. The next thing you come to is the kitchen. It's pretty small, but it's pretty functional actually. When I first moved in, there was just a hot plate. There wasn't an oven, so I did go out and purchase that oven over there. Those are pretty common here in Greece to have like a tabletop oven, and it even has like a rotisserie function on it, so I'm not going to complain. And yes, there is a refrigerator. It just happens to be built into the cabinetry, which is really nice because it doesn't take up extra space, and I tend to shop more frequently when I live in Europe, so like not having a big refrigerator is not really a big deal. And of course, sink and everything, but I love the marble backsplash in the kitchen. It's actually really, really nice. So right across from the kitchen is the part of the bathroom, I should say, and the toilet and the sink area, and I'll show you where the rest of it is in a second. Really nice, has that same marble on the wall and on the floor, and I love the antique piece that they've put in, and the sink. The sink is like all kinds of extra, but you know what? It's one of the few sinks here in Greece that when I've like washed my face or brushed my teeth, that the water doesn't go everywhere. So I'm pretty grateful for that. And they've done a really nice job with like all the finishings, like the brass and the antique looking mirror and the matching brass on the walls and the door handles. So it's really well done. I would say this is probably one of the largest bathrooms in Greece I've seen. Bathrooms are not like a huge priority here from what I've noticed, so they're just kind of basic usually. One of the most interesting things to me in this apartment is they have these ventilation windows, right? Because, you know, it gets humid in a bathroom and you want to ventilate it sometimes. So great, it opens. And there's the other one that's in my shower. So, but what I think is really interesting is, I've closed it now, but what I think it really interesting is, so it has this like decorative frosting so people can't see in. That's just a shaft to the airway. There is nothing there. No one could walk through there. No one could fit through there. So I find this decorative glass really interesting. I guess no one wants to look at the air shaft, and maybe that's why. But anyway, so the other interesting thing is you notice there's a glass wall here, frosted glass wall, and there's no bathtub, there's no shower. That's because the shower is on the other side. So you walk back out to the kitchen and you come around to the door that goes into the bathroom, or to the bedroom, sorry, and there's the shower. As you can see, the marble continues in here, and I have another one of those lovely ventilation shaft windows. I really like this shower. It's a little strange that it doesn't come in from the bathroom, but I finally have figured out why that is. The heating unit for the bedroom is what heats this bathroom, and it's here. So if you were in there, you might not get the heat and you might be kind of uncomfortable. The other weird thing is they chose to not put in a wall. They chose to put in a piece of glass into the bedroom and the closet, so when you're showering you can see into my closet. Anyway, so I will be putting up a curtain both on the other side of the closet and on the inside because I don't know, I just find it strange, and you know, I don't really want to look at my clothes when I'm showering, but hey. This is the bedroom, obviously, And there are a few things I want to do in here, but slowly I will get to. One big thing is to change out that curtain. There are some white curtains that are in the apartment, but for some reason they are not hung up in here, so I will be changing those out with the white ones. So the really nice thing about the bedroom is, even though I'm in the basement, the bedroom is in the back, so the noise is almost non-existent back here. And even though it looks like that window doesn't get light in the morning, it does get light. There's like a small space between me and the rest of the building, and I can actually see the other buildings if I look out the window. And it does open, so like if I need to get fresh air in here, that's like totally doable. There's a couple of things about Greek apartments that I love, and I find this in hotels too, and I wish we had it in more places. But you see the little switch by the bed? That actually turns on and off the overhead light. So you don't have to get up when you're ready to go to bed and walk across the room to the light switch over there. It's right next to the bed. Love that. The other thing is this apartment, as I mentioned, is furnished, and this lamp was beside the bed, and I love it because you just touch it and it comes on, which is great in the middle of the night when you're stumbling around and you want to get out of bed and you can't see and you can't find the switch. All right, I wanted to come back in the evening and kind of show you what it looks like at night. It's about 7:45 here in the evening, and it's been dark for a little while. So, but as you can see, it's really bright still. The recessed lighting is really, really nice feature. And there are some pot lights here in the ceiling that I don't usually turn on. I'll show them to you. And as you can see, it gets really bright and almost too bright. Athens apartment life is treating me well. There have been a few hiccups, but the nice thing is the manager has responded well and fixed things really quickly and has been a really good communicator. So let's hope that that continues and that I continue to enjoy this apartment. And I hope that once I get some more decorating later in the year, I can share with you if you're interested. So let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.